We are currently experiencing the third wave of the women's movement. Now, the first two waves were political, the suffragettes and then the feminists of the 1960s and 70s. And what I mean by political was that, just like the consciousness back then, these movements were very much from the head. So this was women speaking their minds, all right. And this, when we come from mind, we attract opposition. Because when we're in mind, we're still in the paradigm of duality, of good and bad, black and white, right and wrong. So when women started to speak in a righteous way, it attracted rebuttal. Now, fortunately, as a consciousness, we have transcended that phase. And in honour of all the women that risked so much personally in order to make advances so that those of us today may have a better quality of life, this is not to detract from the service that they have done for all of us and for our children. However, times change and a new approach is therefore required. Now, fortunately, this third wave of women's liberation, women's lib, is from the heart. This is a movement that is to reclaim the sacred feminine. And personally, I feel that in 2013 being sacred to the sacred feminine because of the 13 phases of the moon in a calendar year. And hence number 13 was throughout the patriarchal times demonized and seen superstitiously with fear. But the number 13 was sacred in the earlier matriarchal cultures, which honoured the sacred feminine but didn't honour the sacred masculine, which was just as unbalanced as patriarchy. And that this new wave, this new movement, is not about women and men. It is about the feminine rising up in all of us, okay, so that we start to acknowledge ourselves, all of us, as feminine and masculine beings. This takes the war out of who is right and who is wrong in terms of men and women, and who would do a better job if they had the external power. Those debates are archaic. We have evolved past those debates, and those debates really keep us in mind, keep us in conflict, spiraling down in entropy. Any argument, it creates conflict within us, and therefore energetically it takes our energy into contraction, into fear, into a perception of separation of us and them. What we are on the precipice of is union, sacred union, union within, union interpersonally, and union within all creeds, within all races, within gender, externally, so that we can heal the opposition of polarities in the macrocosm, which ultimately is, the prejudices fought out between East and West, East being the feminine, West being the masculine. So, if we want to create peace on earth, all right, as we write in Christmas cards every Christmas, we need to create peace within. This is not a new concept, but we need to acknowledge that we contain all within us, all opposition, all possibilities. We all have the ability to be a victim. We all have the ability to be a perpetrator, given the right circumstances. So, if we are to heal not just the gender war, but the war of all polarities, we need to exercise the consciousness of I am, which is I am that. When we sit in judgment, we really only hurt ourselves. And we only go into judgment when we're trying to bolster our sense of who we are, our identity, our self-worth. In other words, I'm not that, therefore I must be a good person. So we're measuring ourselves, if you will, against yardsticks that we're projecting on other people. This is the cause of road rage, this is the cause of any prejudice. And prejudice is ultimately based in fear, a fear that if we allow someone else to have their beliefs, to have their cultural traditions, that will in some way infringe upon our ability to just be who we are. The Aquarian age, what we're moving into, is about diversity. It's about accepting that ultimately we are the one consciousness. But within that one consciousness is a wonderful mandala of individual expression, and that makes life interesting. Just like if we ate, meat and 3 veg every day, as we did here in Australia before all of the immigrants came and blessed us with their cuisine, life got pretty boring. So we need diversity. It makes life interesting, like the saying, variety is the spice of life. So the feminine, the sacred feminine, the way to reclaim that is simply through honouring the sacred in everything, in every moment. And I'm not talking about religion. A lot of people have been very wounded by doctrine, saying that they should be one way. And a lot of these doctrines were based in polarities between you must be this if you're going to be good and get into heaven, and if you're that, then you have failed and you will go to hell. This keeps people in hell, in polarity, in duality, in separation. So ultimately we need to transcend all the dogma, all religion, which is simply politicized spirituality, political being from the head. And all of the great prophets were ultimately saying the one thing: do unto others as you would want to be done unto you. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Because ultimately everybody is a reflection in this holographic universe that we live in. So, as we stand at the dawn of the Aquarian age, this solstice, the 21st of the 12th, 2012, this is an opportunity to bury the hatchet, to heal any resentment, any bitterness, anyone you have not forgiven, by simply saying to yourself, where am I that? And a lot of men have been wounded by the women during this time of polarity. A lot of women have been wounded by men. This makes it very difficult for men to truly hear women, hear their truth. Because if they've been wounded and they haven't resolved those wounds, ideally in circle with other men, allowing themselves to see and feel and witness their own inner feminine, their own sensitivities, their own vulnerability, their own emotional self, then they will just be completely shut down and blocked to anything that the feminine has to offer in terms of insight. It's like if two men are about to punch on in a bar. If a woman tries to intervene when a man is that out of balance, she'll get biffed. It takes a man in his rational, cool, calm, collected Apollo archetype to step in and simmer things down. So too, if a woman is out of balance, if a woman has been wounded by men, she will shoot, then ask questions if a man tries to bring her back into balance by pointing out the shadow, what it is she needs to face in herself. So this is why women, when they're wounded, when they're in the Artemis archetype, they need to sit in circle with other women, because they can handle other women helping them to face their shadow and to heal their wounds. So this is why we need agape love, we need brotherly love, we need sisterly love before we can really heal the gender war. And that is the challenge of the Aquarian age. So I offer my books as a gift to humanity to assist with this transition. They're called Sacred Union, Awakening to the Consciousness of Eden.